لم تكن إسرائيل حليفاً تقليدياً لإنجلترا، كانت قريبة للغاية من فرنسا، لكنها كانت تهدد العلاقات البريطانية في الشرق الأوسط. تشير الوثائق إلى تخوف بريطاني واضح من تحرك إسرائيلي يزعزع الأمن في الأردن، الحليف الأهم لبريطانيا في قلب الوطن العربي. تحمل إحدى وثائق وزارة الدفاع البريطانية التي يفرج عنها للمرة الأولى تخوفاً من التدخل الإسرائيلي في الأردن، وكيف سيكون رد فعل بريطانيا على هذا الأمر.
There was a distinct worry that Israel had ambitions to expand, and so this was going to bring Israel up against countries like Jordan, where British influence was strong.
In the autumn of 1956, Israel starts making threatening noises that it will move into the West Bank. And it will move in and effectively occupy with military force. And it is up to King Hussein to accept that if it happens.
There was then this lingering question mark of, well, when Israel enters this equation, how does Britain respond? And Jordan had formally asked Britain, would Britain come to its aid in defence in the event of a conflict with Israel? Britain agreed on the provision that Jordan was not the instigator of the conflict, that it was a conflict in self-defence.
It's not just Israel, however, that could be coming in, because Israel now has a working relationship, a military relationship with France. So it's Israel backed with France moving into part of Jordan. What does Britain do? Britain is committed under that joint pact to defend Jordan from an external aggressor, and that means Operation Cordage.
العملية كورتيج أو عملية عقدة الحبلة تتكشف للمرة الأولى بعد أكثر من 50 عاماً. إنجلترا في مواجهة إسرائيل، شيء لم يكن لأحد أن يصدقه لولا الوثائق التي تحكي كيف سيحتل البريطانيون إسرائيل لمنعها من التوغل في الأردن. تقييد لحركة الملاحة، إغلاق لميناء إيلات، ضرب للطيران الإسرائيلي على الأرض، مخطط كامل ومجهز. وظل الجيش البريطاني مستعدا لتنفيذه لمدة طويلة قبل أن تنقلب الصورة فجأة.
Operation Cordage does have British forces on a stage of alert in October 1956, at no more than 72 hours notice. I think it may be even shorter than that by the time it gets critical.
Operation Cordage was not needed because Israel was invading Egypt, not Jordan. And because Israel was invading Egypt, they were doing it with the British and French. So it had become a situation where, far from planning for war with Israel, it became a plan to engage in war with Israel.
You have the possibility of Israel, backed by France, entering Jordanian territory, and Britain is having to come to Jordan's defense, and we have a proxy Franco-British conflict. That is one of the reasons, and I suspect the primary reason, why French envoys go to Anthony Eden on the 14th of October 1956, Monsieur Charles, Monsieur Gazier, and they say to Eden, now you don't want this to happen. You don't want us to be on opposite sides of an Israel-Jordanian conflict. What are we going to do about this? And Eden's going, well, yes, what do we do about this? And the French say, what if we focused on Egypt? What if we did something about Nasser?
Operation Cordage theoretically would have put British military against Israel to protect Jordan. My feeling is that Cordage was a nod in the direction of Jordan, saying, stick with us, we'll look after you. And the idea that Britain could have attacked Israel without American support is pretty unlikely. On the other hand, the idea that Britain could attack Egypt without American support is also unlikely, and that happened.
And that means that the significance of Operation Cordage is not that it led to Britain and France on opposite sides of a war. The significance of Operation Cordage is it was the catalyst for the collusion that would put Britain and France on the same side alongside Israel in a different war, a war against Egypt.